I don't know about you, but did you fool around with a lot of different toxic substances as kids? And of course, a lot of us, if you've got a little bit of age to you, we had, mercury fillings, and we had all kinds of opportunities to be exposed to different toxins and pollutants and things of that nature, and never thought anything about it. And so the question today, do I have heavy metals? That's the question. Do I have them? And heavy metals, we know, are all around us in our environment in many different ways, like air pollution. Okay, so we're all familiar with that. We go outside, and especially sometimes we can look down towards, we're about 35, 40 minutes north of Toronto, but sometimes Brenda and I can, if we're on a high point, we can look down and see the toxic kind of brown pollution over the city. And so air pollution is definitely one, you can't get away from it. Herbal products. A lot of people don't know that a lot of herbal products, not necessarily made within the North America, but outside of North America, many herbal products and supplements, if you're not careful, these products contain heavy metals. You have to be extremely careful where you're getting your products from. Chemicals, of course, we know in the water. Thanks, Darlene. Vaccines, foods. It's in our foods. Heavy metals are in our foods. Our medicines, improperly coated food containers. If you ever watched The Dirty Water, it was the expose on DuPont and how they were using the Teflon and what kind of cancers and all kinds of other things it was doing. Exactly, Shannon. Water, flame retardants. This is on our beds, in our pillows, on our carpets, clothing. I don't touch clothing until Brenda's washed it at least, and many times she'll wash it a couple of times. We get new clothes. Just make sure we take as much off as possible. But there's a lot of flame retardants. I remember years ago reading an article about levels of flame retardants when you go in an airplane and you sit in a chair, and how those flame retardants are transferred into your body just sitting in that seat in the airline. And they did a measurement and could tell the difference in people's lives. Pesticides. Of course, a lot of pesticides around us today. People spraying their lawns, spraying all kinds of pesticides all over. Lead-based paint, especially in older homes. This was not unusual to have lead-based paints, and sometimes kids would go up and they're putting their hands on the wall and then putting their hands in their mouth. Can cause toxicity and problems. As we mentioned, dental fillings. These are all ways that we get heavy metals into our body. Really, the question is, who doesn't have heavy metals in their body? And some of the most common and damaging heavy metals include things like arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. And foods like brown rice, leafy green vegetables, and fish are higher in heavy metals than others. A lot of people know there's a lot of mercury in fish. So we got to be careful about our content. These food crops absorb heavy metals from the water, air, and soil as they grow. So the question is, are all these metals bad? Well, we know that we've got metals in our body. Our body naturally contains zinc, iron, copper, for example, are necessary. These things are all necessary for our regular body function as long as they're not present in toxic amounts. Heavy metal poisoning occurs when your body's soft tissues absorb too much of a particular metal. That's why it's so important with what we have, and we'll talk in a minute about black oxygen. But what about heavy metal storage? When we think about the cells of our body, these heavy metals are stored in the cells. Think about a storage unit, or this picture here of storing wine or whiskey or whatever. These heavy metals are stored in our cells, and they begin to compete with essential nutrients and minerals for the same biological space. There's not enough room for everybody. So there's a storage going on of these heavy metals in our body, And the result is that the cells become toxic and malnourished because basically the heavy metals have essentially crowded out the good vitamins, minerals, and protein. Isn't that something? So our cells are storing these. And some symptoms of heavy metal poisoning. What are some of the things that we may notice if we do have heavy metal poisoning or too much heavy metal in our system? Well, according to Healthline, some of the most common metals that the human body can absorb in toxic amounts are mercury, lead, cadmium, arsenic. Some of the symptoms are lack of coordination, muscle weakness, constipation, aggressive behavior, sleep problems, irritability, high blood pressure, loss of appetite, anemia, headaches, fatigue, memory loss. These are some of the symptoms of heavy metal poisoning in our body. Loss of developmental skills in children. We know that, for instance, lead poisoning is generational. Our parents, and most of us grew up in the lead generation. We used to have lead in gasoline. Look at this. It affects 4 generations 2 ways. The lead is inherited in vitro from the mom to the baby for 4 generations. It turns on bad genes associated with many diseases, even obesity, for 4 generations. This is what it can do. Now, the question is, can Fulvic help? Can fulvic acid help us get out of this toxic heavy metal soup? Fulvic acid is highly effective at neutralizing and detoxifying harmful toxins and pollutants, including heavy metals such as lead and mercury. Isn't that amazing that we didn't know this before? Honestly, that this is such an amazing chelator. So what happens is these heavy metals kind of get sticky. Fulvic acid has the unique capacity to bind or get sticky with these heavy metals and helps in the excretion of these metals from the body, literally carrying them out of our systems daily. Isn't it great that fulvic is sticky and it sticks to these heavy metals and binds to them and helps us clear them out of our body? I think that is amazing. Fulvic acid bonds with these heavy metals, a process called chelation, okay, and then converts them into inactive compounds, which can be eliminated through the normal excretory processes. So that's what fulvic acid does. I'm so excited that this is happening inside of our body. We talk about the new health frontier. You know, many times we talk about the people, the settlers who came over and the challenges they went through and the learning experience they had. Well, the new health frontier is it's not just the nutrition you're putting in the body. That's not what we're just concerned about that anymore, but it's what you're taking out of the body. Dave Bykowski said this to me one time, and I thought, man, that really resonated with me, that's the new health frontier, not just what you're putting in, but what you're taking out of the body. And as we know with Fulvic, it's having a tremendous effect on taking things out. And just in case you didn't see this on Monday night, or Wednesday night, pardon me, Mark St. Ange, our CEO, talked about the contamination in the countries of Guadeloupe and Martinique, where almost, and this is amazing to think about this, almost all the citizens, can you believe it? Almost everybody from Guadeloupe and Martinique are contaminated by chlordecone, a toxic pesticide used from 72 to 93 in the banana population, and it's affected almost everybody on the islands, okay? And so they began a test with a number of people, and here was the blood work done, October 12, 2019. Pesticides were detected. There you can see chlordecone, 0.428. Okay, now watch what happens. Started taking Fulvic in November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 7 months. Blood work was taken July the 6th. Pesticides were non-detected. It had literally removed the pesticides from her body. And she says this, she says, for each of us, a new energy, more endurance, and improved capacities during our sports activities. But above all, and I emphasize above all, it is with immeasurable happiness. Today I can announce that I no longer have chlordecone or any of the other 2 organochlorine pesticides considered as ultra persistent, which have been detected in my blood during the research into chlordecone that I carried out in December 2019. This is amazing, and the reason I bring it back to you again is because the amount of people that this can benefit. Think about these 2 islands. Now the president of the country is interested in and is actually using black oxygen organics. So I love this fact. We all know this. We talk about this. Fulvic brings 60 times its weight into the cell in nutrition. It brings 60 times its weight in nutrition and benefits into the cell. And at the same time, it takes 60 times its weight out of the cell. This is so powerful, bringing nutrition and health into the cell. At the same time, our Fulvic is pulling 60 times its weight. And isn't that amazing that she's had such great results there, getting the pesticides out of her body and the detrimental effects. So Black Oxygen Organics delivers 100% plant-sourced fulvic minerals with maximum bioavailability. This unique and potent formula that we have here at Black Oxygen Organics has the ability to penetrate the cell and eliminate heavy metals. Matter of fact, Mark is doing a test right now. It eliminates the heavy metals, environmental toxins, viruses, and broken down cells to help keep the body health and well balanced. Mark St. Ange mentioned the other night that in Germany now they began more studies on pesticides and glyphosate and all these issues so we can show people proof positive that when they take our product, not just any product, but when they take our product, it's really making a huge difference in removing those pesticides and poisons from inside the cell, that our body is waging a war. There's not enough room for everybody. The more we can get those toxins and pollutants and heavy metals out of the cell, the more room we make for nutrients and the healthy material that our cells need to reproduce. So we've got something extremely powerful here in our hands at Black Oxygen Organics. I'm really excited that we've all found it, that we're on the road to better health. I love the fact that we've got the 3 delivery systems: minerals, in the mineral infused coffee, we've got the tabs, and we've got the Fulvic Care product.